What kind of woman rams a pickup truck into a steel gate just to prove she's in charge? That's the question I kept asking myself as I watched the dust settle in rural West Carolina, where the summer sun baked the cracked roads and old mailboxes tilted toward oblivion. Let me tell you about Jack Carter, a man who wanted nothing more than peace, and Ellen Brooks, the self-appointed queen of a neighborhood council who thought she could bully him into submission. This isn't just a story about a gate. It's about a war one fought with paperwork, patience, and raw, stubborn will. Jack was welding the final joint on his new steel gate under a fading July sky. 8 feet tall, forged from weather-treated iron, spiked at the top, and anchored in concrete pillars, it wasn't just a barrier, it was a statement. Jack wasn't building it for looks. He was done asking folks to respect his land. For years, he dealt with neighbors cutting through his gravel driveway to reach the lake, kids tearing up his soil on motorbikes, and endless complaints about his shed, his firewood piles, even his old Chevy truck. The worst came from Ellen Brooks, a woman with a voice like a knife and the swagger of someone who'd never heard no in her life. Ellen ran the neighborhood's property council, a group with no legal grip on Jack's land but plenty of inherited clout. His property sat in a zoning gray zone, free from their bylaws and fees, a fact that drove Ellen wild. She didn't like his silence, his refusal to play along. Once she showed up at his door with a laminated list of community standards, and a fake smile, offering to help him comply. Jack shut the door in her face. From then on, the air between their properties crackled with tension. Ellen wanted control, especially with developers circling and her desperate to keep the neighborhood picture perfect for their brochures. Charm hadn't worked. Pressure hadn't either. So she turned to war. Jack hadn't come here for fights. After losing his family home upstate and grinding his knees to dust in the trades, he'd stumbled across this foreclosure, a sagging house, a crumbling barn, and acres of quiet. He poured every dollar into fixing it, learning welding in his 40s to shore up the barn, rewiring the house with a quiet electrician who didn't pry. The land became his sanctuary, a place to heal from a world that had chewed him up. But peace, it turns out, comes with a price. The final straw was 2 kids on motorbikes ripping through his blueberry rows, snapping a cedar sapling he'd planted for his late mother. Their parents never apologized. At a community meeting, Ellen took the mic, smiling her public smile, and brushed it off as boys being boys. That's when Jack decided enough was enough. He got a certified survey, marked his boundaries, and started building the gate. When cement trucks rolled in, Ellen sent a letter about open aesthetics. Jack didn't open it. When her cousin Tom, a local grain contractor, cruised by 3 times in one day, Jack just waved from his porch. The message was clear, he wasn't budging. But silence has weight. Neighbors stopped wah-vying. Trash pickup skipped weeks. The mail came late. When Jack called the waste company, the clerk paused, said she'd check with her supervisor. It was the small-town way of saying you're not welcome. Jack wasn't new to being disliked, had dealt with clients who thought antique meant free labor, but this suburban pettiness was something else. It wasn't neighborly advice. It was control dressed up as community. The gate went up, bolted tight, with a reinforced lock and a keypad. No cameras. Jack didn't trust tech, just like he didn't trust quick friends or cheap warranties. He wanted something he could fix with his hands. That night, as cicadas screamed and stars bled into the sky, he sat on his porch, boots off, the gate looming behind him like a sentinel. Ellen would come for it. He didn't know how, but he knew her kind. The storm was brewing. 2 mornings later, a man with a clipboard and sunglasses showed up, standing just outside the gate like he owned the road. No uniform, just a dusty sedan idling nearby. "Mr. Carter?" he asked, voice flat. Jack nodded, hands in his jeans, already sensing trouble. The man held up the clipboard like it was holy. "You're cited for obstructing a community easement." The complaint, signed by neighbors Jack barely knew, claimed his gate blocked a shared pathway. It was nonsense. His driveway was private, the road was county-owned, and he had the deeds to prove it. But this wasn't about truth. It was about bleeding him dry with fees and hearings. Jack handed the clipboard back without signing, staring the man down until he left a yellow notice zip-tied to the fence and drove off. That afternoon, Ellen led a posse to his driveway, 6 or 7 folks, including Tom, her cousin. She waved a folder stuffed with papers, her pink blouse screaming against the gravel. "Jack, we need a neighborly chat," she called, voice dripping with fake warmth. Jack stayed in the shed's shadow, wiping grease from a wrench. When she pressed, saying the gate was dangerous, for emergency services, he didn't bite. He knew the tactic: frame it as public safety, make him look selfish. "I'm not under your guidelines," he said, cutting her off. Ellen's smile twitched. Tom muttered something ugly. The group lingered, then scattered. Ellen was the last to go, staring at the gate like it was her personal enemy. Jack didn't sleep easy. He drove to the county clerk, spending hours copying property maps and filing statements to shield his land. He reinforced the gate's hinges, added tamper-proof bolts, and sank steel wedges into the ground. If they wanted to tear it down, they'd have to make a scene. 2 nights later they tried. A metallic clatter woke him. Slipping into boots and grabbing a flashlight, he caught a figure sprinting from the gate to a waiting car. Scratches marred the lock, a crowbar lay in the dirt. Jack bagged it, filed a sheriff's report, and kept moving. The deputy suggested cameras. Jack nodded but stuck to floodlights, harder to sabotage. The harassment piled up. A legal letter demanded the gate's removal. Roofing nails littered his driveway, a deliberate trap. A rock crashed through his window during dinner. Each time, Jack documented, repaired, and pushed back through his lawyer, Henry Tate. Ellen was revealing herself a petty tyrant who couldn't stand losing. But Jack wasn't playing her game. He was playing for keeps. Then came the loudspeaker. One humid evening, Ellen's voice blared from a pickup creeping along the road. "Community standards must be upheld. Non-compliance won't be tolerated." She drove, Tom whooping beside her, a PA system duct taped to the roof. Jack flipped on his floodlights, bathing them in harsh white. Ellen flinched, Tom cursed, and they sped off, the speaker squawking into silence. Jack filed another report, the footage tightening the noose around Ellen's neck. She didn't stop. A petition surfaced to rezone Jack's land under council control, a move to crush him with bureaucracy. At the county hearing, Ellen preached about community values. Jack stepped to the mic, calm as stone, and read his deeds, surveys, and case law. The room went quiet. The board deferred, but Jack knew Ellen wasn't done. She'd come harder, uglier. And she did. One sweltering morning, Jack was fixing a hinge when a black pickup roared down the road, dust churning. Ellen was behind the wheel, eyes wild, hands choking the steering wheel. She wasn't slowing, she was accelerating, aiming for the gate. Jack braced, heart steady, mind racing. At the last second, she swerved, slamming the truck into the steel. The gate shuddered but held. The truck's front crumpled, airbags exploding. It lurched, wheels spinning, then lodged grotesquely on the gate's base. Jack walked down the driveway, slow and deliberate, as Ellen thrashed inside, screaming nonsense. He didn't gloat. He called the sheriff. Deputies arrived, pulling a red-faced Ellen from the cab as she kicked and ranted about citizens' arrests. They cuffed her, reckless endangerment, property damage, trespass, DUI. The charges stacked like firewood. The sheriff, a tired man with silver temples, whistled at the gate. "She thought she could knock it down," he said. Jack shrugged. "Guess she thought she had the weight." Ellen's empire crumbled fast. Neighbors turned, spilling years of her intimidation. The council fractured, Tom bailed, and the rezoning petition died. Jack's countersuit hit hard: harassment, distress, abuse of process. Ellen settled fast, covering his costs and repairs, with a restraining order to keep her away. She dodged jail, but her reputation was ash. In a town where memory lingers, that was worse. Jack didn't gloat. He fixed the gate's scratches, reset the gravel, and sat on his porch, coffee in hand, watching the road. Neighbors nodded now, some even stopped by, their apologies clumsy but real. Jack took it in stride, but trust came slow. The land was his again, quiet, alive, unbroken. He'd won not by shouting or swinging, but by standing firm, a man who knew some lines, once drawn, aren't crossed twice.